Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Always in Pursuit podcast. My name is Aaron, and I am kind of your de facto host for this thing. We are back today. It is Wednesday. I forget the date. I can't remember.
It's December 8th.
December 8th. That's right. Pastor Mark just got up. He's here today grabbing his coffee. And we also have Megan.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
We love doing this with you all, and it's fun to be back in the room doing a podcast. We're going to switch things up a little bit today.
Just a tiny bit.
Tiny bit. We're going to talk about some of the things that are coming up right now here at Pursuit before we jump into today's podcast.
Yeah, I mean, if we have some people listening, we might as well use it as an opportunity to announce things or talk about stuff that's coming up. That,
yeah.
And we'll just tack it on the front and can be like, a good opportunity every time we get together to talk a little bit. So as we've been talking about at church, Operation Joy starts next week. And just, I kind of wanted to peel back the curtain a little bit, just let people know where things are at. This is one of the joys of working with our local partners and with organizations that you are relying on. The past couple of seasons, the Ralph Reeder Food Shelf has used Toys for Tots as the main way of getting the distribution of toys for the kids that are going to receive them. I think right now, Megan, you could verify this. I think we're like 600, 700, 800 kids.
It was like 740.
Okay,
the last that I heard
that are signed up to receive toys.
I heard yesterday that they are full.
Okay,
so full might be 800.
I think that's what full means.
So all the kids that we're serving are part of the Ralph Reeder ecosystem. Mm-hmm. They're all kids that have received food this year, families that have received food this year. So, and usually in the past, Toys for Tots has dropped thousands of toys on the toy drive. Mm-hmm. But this year, Toys for Tots didn't have their ducks in a row. I think they switched leaders. Something happened. They were doing a meeting with us like 2 months behind when they would usually do the meeting. The toys that would usually have been donated are now coming in way slower and way later.
Yeah.
And we're pretty worried that we're not going to get really anything.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the main message that we got from Toys for Tots when you guys went to that big meeting, was that they're late to the game this year, which isn't good. But then also that they can't guarantee any distribution of toys in general, and they're just giving out the toys as they get them. And so it's kind of one of those where, like, if we get a phone call, if we can't go down there then to grab those toys, then we might not get anything. They're not guaranteeing anything. So
I'm pretty much on call for the
much.
trailer. And if they call, I'm like, we're just going. I'm getting in the car and we're just going right down there, take anything we can get.
Yep.
So we got some nerves here. This is one of the things about working with other organizations. Sometimes you're not in control of every detail. We are in control of the side of the labor.
Yeah.
And we've done all of our work getting the building to be ready for people to be in there, planning out how we're going to do things. But at the end of the day, we may not have the toys we need. I mean, there's been a lot of people being very generous, dropping off toys at our offices, dropping off toys at the community center. Gift cards work great. We've gotten lots of gift cards. I think there's another church out there that's trying to.
Yep. That's just collecting gift cards.
So we honestly, it's one of these things where we are literally going to fly by the seat of our pants in this event.
Yep.
Not because of the way we're running it, but because of our relationship with Toys for Tots and Ralph Reeder.
Yep.
So welcome to ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're really just praying for the organization of the toys to come in, for that to get worked out, for God to move some mountains. And then also for all of the COVID fears and anxieties of just the logistics of having 800, well, probably less families, I don't know, 500 families in a room between 2 days, and just working that out so that we can still host our event. Everybody can stay safe, and we can figure out the best way to do it socially distanced.
Right.
So just be praying with us, be praying for all of that.
I mean, I kind of feel like there needs to be a miracle at this point. It does feel that way. This is going to be a made-for-TV Christmas movie. If we're able to give,
we have some obstacles that we have to overcome, but
I don't even know.
But God is able.
Yeah, for sure.
And
100%.
That's that's the fallback we have right now.
Yeah.
Is that God's in control
Yeah.
when nothing else feels
Well,
like
and
it is.
if you're hearing this right now, and God's put it on your heart, like to be a call of action to mobilize yourself or your friends, people in your network, you could easily start sending out text messages to coworkers and family and friends, be like, "Hey, we need like a lot of toys tomorrow." By all
Tomorrow.
means, do that. But at the same time, like if all you can do right now is pray, then just pray. Pray that God pulls a miracle out of his hat, and like we don't want to lose sight of the importance of an event like this for the families that we're trying to serve in our community. That's really what this is all about. And then, glorifying God through doing all of it. And so as we have learned here at Pursuit, some of our best made plans don't ever come to fruition because God's got something else in store. And so whether it happens next week like we've originally planned, or whether it happens the week of Christmas, then we got to figure it out.
And one other thing to consider or pray about is just COVID. Like again, it's not our choice how we're having to do things. So we've got partners who are a little more nervous about making sure that there's no COVID transmission. Obviously, it's something hugely important to us too. We've organized this so that families can come in one at a time and be in large areas where they're not having lots of contact.
Yep.
Obviously, there's 800 people, or let's put it this way, like 400 or 500 families cycling through this over the couple days. So we're doing everything we can to like mitigate those issues. However, our partners are even more nervous about it. And another weird thing that you may not consider or think about is that when you're working with a needy population like we are, the amount of vaccination is super low. It's more in that 40 to 50% range is what they were reporting to us. So we need to be responsible with what we do, but also we're trying to make sure that there's actually some dignity in this, that when people come in, they can actually shop for their kids.
Yep.
And also to kind of be relating to people as they come in and kind of spending time with them. And if we end up going to a model where we just jam things into a trunk as a car pulls up, it's going to really cut back any ministry that we can do with people.
For sure.
So I've just been praying against that because it feels like, the dignity of it, coming through with a person, shopping for your specific children, picking things they'll love. There's something really, I don't know, there's something special there for that parent.
Yep.
And so we're really trying hard not to lose that.
Yeah.
And our partners are sort of pushing in that direction.
Yeah.
So we're trying not
but
to.
it's hard because they're used to a much smaller space with probably less volunteers. So we kind of can bring our expertise in doing church in a COVID era to the table and really lay out the community center well. And we have much more space than they usually do or have in the past.
We're essentially laying it out like we did for our
Christmas Eve
services last year.
Yep.
So I'm just, if you want to be praying about that,
yes,
man,
for sure.
It's like,
for sure,
feels really out of control. So
yeah.
So
and just by comparison, I think that we do the resource fair in the fall. That's a big it's a big deal. And there's a lot of moving pieces, and it requires a lot of people to step up and volunteer and help out. I would say we have a lot more control over that event just because we're a bigger stakeholder. It seems like, if you guys would concur with that. This feels like this is Ralph Ritter's event, and we were just trying to come alongside and serve them. So for us, it almost feels like we feel a little helpless. Like
I think it's just because it's year one.
Yeah.
Actually, we're learning so much right now that I think
the
fall event, the difference between last year and this year, or three years ago, whatever it was.
Yep.
We planned both of them months and months and months out. But actually, the planning for this year's was so much smoother because we knew what we were doing. I think we'll run this event way better than they were running it in the future. And they're pumped about that to get it off their plate. We've already
started that conversation.
Yes. So we're already thinking, okay, next year, do it like this, do it like that, fix this, change that.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like we'll keep improving on it, and we'll be spending way more time planning it. However, this year it is going to be what it is.
Yep. And it's going to be great.
So pray about it.
It's going to be a little chaotic, but I feel like that maybe defines most of the things we do the first time. Like it's a little bit chaotic. We don't know what to expect, but God shows up in big ways.
Yeah, you just keep getting better at it.
Yeah.
More efficient.
Yep.
So, and then the other thing we just wanted to mention was we have services on 24th.
Yep. Christmas Eve
4
services
4 p.m.
at 4 p.m.
No 26th service.
No service on the 26th.
And then we're
family,
back.
Family service on the 2nd.
Yes. Which family service on 24th and the 2nd.
Yep.
Which we'll be setting up for if you have like squirmy kids to like, we'll have it videoed in the lobby and stuff.
There will be stuff in the service for older kids to engage with.
Yep.
And
it's a lot of music.
Yep. It's a shorter service. Yep. It's going to be really great. It's going to be fun. It's laid out different than our normal services.
I think I'm speaking for like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, something.
Yeah, I think I told them 4. Maybe you'll get to 10.
So
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Come on the 24th.
And one other thing I wanted to mention is if you're away on the 24th, Catalyst White Bear, the church that we are supporting, the one that we're trying to help launch, is doing their services on the 23rd at the White Bear YMCA.
Yep.
And I'll be going on the 23rd.
Yeah, I'm going
to support them. And I remember our first year we had Cornerstone Church come and support us on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And
I do remember that.
Man, did we need it. Those 20 people made that room bearable.
It helped with the energy and it was really great. It's going to be a really fun way to help support our church plant and to kind of inject some energy into what they're doing and be able to see what they're doing over in White Bear Lake. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
You're invited to that too. You're invited to go 23rd and 24th. Or if you're going to be out of town on the 24th, you're invited to do the 23rd over there. So I think.
And then on the 26th, just sleep in and spend a little time with your family and hang out.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Come to church on the 24th and then enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Let's review the
And then we have one more announcement.
Oh.
Serve cards. If you were not in church on Sunday or you didn't bring them in, you can still turn in your serve cards. Snap a picture, send it to me, or bring it to church on Sunday, but those still count. As of yet, I have gotten 0 blackouts.
Ooh.
So I know there were people working on them, but get those turned in so that we can get those prizes to you.
Yeah, I talked to somebody and they were like, we're really close to it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that was the booths. I think Dan was like,
yep, I haven't gotten the booths yet, but
so
for good reason. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
So get those serve cards turned in. Even if you snap a picture and send it to me, that's great. I don't need the physical card.
Yeah. And Ugly Sweaters this Sunday if you're coming to church.
Yeah.
So if you are joining the podcast today and it's like your first or second time or you're just beginning to interact with us, the whole point, the reason we do these podcasts is to supplement what we talk about on the weekends. And so we started these really intently for the Here for Good series that we did on the book of Acts. And so really we're just continuing the conversation from Sunday. And we go through different topics, different ideas. We love to hear from you all. So if you have any questions or ideas, topics, things that you want to talk about, you can go drop those in the comments. You can email them to us at office@pursuitcommunity.church, or you can text one of us if you know our numbers as well. Review. I spoke this last Sunday.
Sure did.
Second Sunday in Advent, we went through Isaiah chapter 40, verses 3 through 5. And if you hear this passage, it is Isaiah's prophecy of hope. And it's one of those classic passages that we hear every Christmas, like leading up to Christmas during the Advent season. And really the thing that I was trying to help us all wrap our minds around is that when Isaiah gave us this prophecy of hope for people who were about to experience judgment and exile and destruction at the hands of the Assyrians and then the Babylonians, they needed a little word of hope. And at the time, they realized that this word of hope was not necessarily for them because they were all going to be long gone by the time this prophecy was fulfilled. If you fast forward 800 years to the time of Jesus, Jesus was born about 800 years later after Isaiah spoke these words. People at that time interpreted his prophecy as the hope was that God would restore the nation of Israel as a world power and send them a new king. And so part of the prophecy was like, I'll send you a leader from the line of David. So they thought, David 2.0 would be coming to kind of redo things, they'd be sweet again. And that also meant kicking out the Romans out of Jerusalem and out of Israel. We now know, fast forward to our point in history, we now know that Isaiah's prophecy was specifically about Jesus Christ. He was the instrument that God chose to use to usher in this era of joy and peace, not only for Israel, but for all nations. And so when we look at this prophecy, at those three verses found in chapter 40, we look at them as a way to kind of center ourselves and remind ourselves about what Christmas is, the Christmas season, about who Jesus is, what he came to do, and how God works, and how Jesus is the way of the new covenant. Like, that is how God is choosing to work with his people and save his people, is through the life and ministry and death of his son, and then resurrecting him from the dead. So what I tried to accomplish on Sunday was trying to help us understand that when we look at this prophecy, when we entertain the notion of preparing this time of year, preparing our hearts and our minds, it's not about preparing Jesus, the way for Jesus, because he already came. It's really about preparing the way for the gospel, so that we can be partnering with God and with the body of Christ to accomplish that mission of helping the world around us know who Jesus is and fall in love with him. And that's not oftentimes, our primary focus this time of year, is to do that.
Yeah. I feel like we're really good at doing Christmas,
Yes.
but maybe not always so good at worshiping Jesus. Does that seem like the right thing to say? Like, I just think about all the details that go into Christmas, and they're like, most people have them all figured out. They know when they're going places, who they're meeting up with, when they're having events, what they're going to eat, what the meal's going to be at the event. They know they've got their presents all figured out and purchased. It's like, they've decorated their entire house for Christmas. They've switched over their playlist to Christmas music. They've pulled the ugly Christmas sweater out of the storage.
That hasn't happened yet. That's happening on Sunday
for
morning.
December 19th.
12th.
Oh, it's this weekend?
Yes.
It's this weekend.
Oh, see, shows you what I know. I should probably figure out what I'm going to wear. I don't have a.
Yeah,
ugly
it's
Christmas
funny
sweater.
that people, they have that timeline too. Like, most families, it's like, for my mom, it's like the day after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Then like
Yep.
Christmas happens, the tree goes up, the village comes out, and like the ball starts rolling.
Oh yeah.
And people are like, I start getting texts or inboxes. Hey, what's your address? Hey, what's your? Because they got to send you the card.
Yep.
There's
Small
like this
plug. If you have a family photo, we'd love to hang them on our wall behind us. So send them to the office or give them to me on church.
Yeah. 3600 Lexington
Avenue North,
Shoreview, number 209.
Suite 209.
Suite 209.
55126.
Yep.
State of Minnesota.
55126. Okay. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't listen to me. That's Shoreviews, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Shoreview. That's correct.
I now know New Brighton's, and it's not that.
Yeah, it seems like we're really good at preparing. Like, that is built into our psyche.
It's like, let's get us back on track.
No, it's okay. That's comedy relief, and I bring us back. That's what I do.
Yeah. So I was just thinking about that. This, like, I don't. It seems like a struggle, and like, it also feels like there's, I was just thinking about like how I've always thought about Christmas in my lifetime, and how it's like, it's been something that's developed over time, where obviously when you're a kid, you're just so excited about like toys, like what you're going to get for Christmas, or what new video game or whatever, depending on what age you are. And then I was thinking about, even like in college, it's like, okay, I have time off. I get to hang out with family. Like, there's, football, maybe we're doing events, or, whatever. Like, there's things in your like schedule for that week or that amount of time, bowl games. Like, there's a lot of things that go between Christmas and New Year's. That's like part of your rhythm. You get excited about that. Now, as a parent, it's almost like, the joy for me is like living it through my kids, so like it kind of changes over time, like how you are interpreting, or I guess how you're enjoying the season. But that preparation part, it's kind of the same. Like, it's, there's like okay, we have to schedule, go get the tree. And, some people, it's like the day after Thanksgiving, and we switch things over and get things ready. And I don't necessarily think we're giving the same amount of effort or thought to actually preparing ourselves to worship, because sometimes it starts to feel like, like it's rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And even as your life changes and you start to go through it differently,
Mhm.
right? Like now there's different ways to enjoy it that you need to find. Because like, yeah, no, I don't enjoy it because I don't really need anything. I don't want anyone to give me like a gift, right?
Yeah.
But I now enjoy it through my kids.
Yeah.
And I feel like as Christians, we need to find ways to continue to enter into the season of worshiping Jesus by like allowing those rhythms of being a Christian
Mhm.
to change, and allow ourselves to like see it through a different perspective and worship in a meaningful way,
Yep.
and allow those things to not stay sort of childish, but like to grow with us as we grow
Yeah.
as Christians. And I just wonder if people are really giving it any, because if your worship of Jesus is really just a couple of Christmas services,
Hmm.
it's a couple hours of your
Yep.
season.
Yeah.
The preparation thing, I think, helps us kind of focus and keep what's the most important thing in the center of our focus, and then kind of get ourselves to a place where we can shed some of the things that keep us from worshiping.
Yeah. When I think that preparation as well helps make this season more alive. Otherwise, it can get really stagnant. The church that I grew up in did a candlelit service on Christmas Eve that I've probably been to about 30 times. And it's the same thing, like the same service every year.
Oftentimes like the same people.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Oh, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like the pastor that I grew up with, I think, did the same message
Yeah.
every year for Christmas Eve. And that can get just really redundant.
Mhm.
Right.
And it just feels like you're just like going through the motions, just on numb. But when you go through the process of actually thinking through that preparation and what this season is for, and what it stands for, and remembering why it's important, then those experiences aren't just like, oh, here's another one of this.
Yeah.
Oh, another Christmas Eve
Yeah.
service.
Yeah. In the message, I talked a lot about towards the end about, just being vulnerable about my own experiences as a Christian most of my life. I can struggle this time of year because it feels like going through the motions, like you were saying,
Yep.
Megan. It's the same things over and over again. I mean, oftentimes like the same scriptures, the same themes, the same stuff. Like you can plan it. I could close my eyes and tell you what we're going to be talking about each week. I don't need to look at notes necessarily. And the analogy that I used in the sermon was, it feels like for myself, I'm at times going through my own personal Jesus museum. Like here's all of these exhibits about, oh, here's the Star of David and the three wise men. Here's, little baby golden Jesus in his manger. Like, all of those different things, all the stories. And you do that every Christmas, your whole life. It kind of waters down the meaning a little bit. It just feels like this is what I always do. I'm not even fully aware of what it means or the implications of it, but I can't mess with it, And
Yep.
so part of what I was trying to tell people on Sunday was taking the month of December to remind ourselves the same way we do communion, at church, to take that as a way, a means to remember the implications, the importance, the meaning. Those aren't bad things at all. That's actually very, very good. But it's also a call to realize that shouldn't just happen in the month of December. December shouldn't just happen during Advent. It should be happening constantly, because it's not just about Christmas. As important as it is, I think we have married the importance of a savior being born, God humbling himself into the form of a human, the most humblest of beginnings, from a very poor family in the backwaters of Israel, to like this consumeristic holiday where, we have all of these other things. Not that those things are bad, presents aren't bad, but like when you take all of it in its entirety, sometimes you think like, yeah, we're really good at preparing our Christmas lights and our trees and our traditions, but we're not super great at preparing our hearts and our minds for what's really important. So,
Yeah. And to some extent, I feel like the rhythm of being a Christian has a lot of these things built into it. And it actually, I think it says more about who we are, um, I feel like it says more about who we are as people, that we have to build rhythms into our lives that a lot like continually bring us back to the things that are most important.
Yes.
You mentioned communion. We do it monthly, but in the first church, they were doing it like daily.
Mhm.
Like they would get together and they would eat together and it would be communion.
Mhm.
Like it would be a feast. They would do this consistently all the time. Whenever they got together and had food, they would remember.
Yep.
And I feel like we have put it in as a monthly tradition because we need to continually remind ourselves of the most important event,
Mhm.
right? That's ever happened in the history of the world.
Yep.
So like the season of Christmas just shows we need 4 weeks to get to a place where
Yeah.
we actually are worshiping.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
that says more about who we are, I think, than
Uh-huh.
it's almost like God knows, like he's like, okay, they're just not capable of like keeping their eye on the ball. Like, so, like let's build in some, and he gave us baptism and he gave us communion as like institutions that he passed on to us so that
Yep.
we would remember.
Yep.
And it's like, we need those because we fail to remember the cross when we should. We fail to think about our own sin. We fail to
Uh-huh.
to keep our relationship with God intact. We fail to, enter into it in a communal way with other people. And for baptisms, like we need the celebration on like a pretty consistent basis to sort of power the church. Like this is
Yep.
the transformation stories is what powers us. Is like what gives us that like, that desire to go out and
Yep.
to reach people.
Yep. 100%.
So we have those two things. And then we have other things like seasons of preparation, like Advent, like Lent.
Mhm.
If you're doing Lent, Lent is one of those ones like I don't love because it's often about like you just making some sort of like stupid sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes like a self-serving sacrifice. Like I'm going to lose 10 pounds or something,
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
gave up chocolate for Lent. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I
like
lost weight.
I don't eat fish on Friday, or I don't eat fish. I don't eat beef on Fridays or whatever. Like I can't have a burger on a Friday.
Well, you don't eat fish on Fridays?
Yeah, no.
Oh,
I
man.
meant it the other way. Again, I grew up in not a tradition that celebrated Lent. So,
Yeah.
but like the point of it was to give something up so that you would worship.
Yep.
Like, and
Yeah.
I feel like people it's just another religious
Yep.
like thing they do.
When a lot of times people don't know why they're doing it.
Right.
Somebody told them they need to give something up. So they pick something that is not super uncomfortable to give up.
Right.
Yeah.
Put this thing on your head, go in for the ashes, like, don't eat the beef on the Friday, don't eat to give up certain things. Like, what was it? Somebody was like, yeah, I'm giving up swearing for Lent. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that's probably not a terrible thing to give up, but
I can't remember when I saw this, but I saw a graphic that had information on McDonald's sale of filet of fish sandwiches
Oh yeah.
and how like astronomically they go up during Lent. It's insane. Like the
so stupid.
millions of dollars that McDonald's makes off of Lent is insane.
Yeah. So I'm not necessarily,
Yeah.
I like the idea of preparation. Like I would rather you spend every day of Lent in a devotional, or
Mhm.
every day of Lent in prayer, or
Mhm.
every day of Lent encouraging somebody else,
Mhm.
like, or serving someone like specific. Like there are ways that I think you can build in spiritual rhythms to your life that get you ready to worship, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like with this season of Advent, like sometimes we're just not there until it's been like the amount of people that took Advent devotionals significantly low. Like it was very low.
Uh-huh.
Like we put it together thinking, oh, keep everyone in God's word. They can hear encouragement from somebody in the church.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, I don't got time for that. Or there's one family I'll pick on. They'll know when I start talking about them, who
Mhm.
they are. Sorry to them.
We love you.
I'm really not trying to, but I'm going to pick on them. They had Advent calendars for every person in their family, including their dogs, which is fantastic. Mom had a wine Advent calendar. Dad had a Lent Advent calendar. The kids had their Advent calendars. I'm like, where's the Jesus one? What's the reading going along with the calendars every day? Like,
Yeah.
Can I just stop for a second? How are we calling something Advent How are we doing a calendar for something that's not Jesus related and calling it Advent? Can we just call it a seasonal countdown? A Christmas countdown. Open up the box and there's a new thing in there every day for whatever.
Yeah.
Why are we using the word Advent? Because Advent literally means preparation. It means the preparing for the coming of Christ. Like, I'm sorry, but Lindt chocolates don't do an Advent calendar. That's not what they do. They do a.
They're so good though.
Sure,
The white chocolate ones.
I'm all about it.
Man.
Like, don't.
That brings me closer to Jesus. The white chocolate.
But it's like there needs to be a spiritual component to this too. Like the Jesse tree stuff we were doing for the kids.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people engaging in that too. It's like, do something that's preparatory with your kids and with your family. Like step out and do it. And even if you only have 2 weeks left, still go ahead and do the next 2 weeks. Like it just feels like we need to kind of like break out of our cycle of the holiday to get ourselves in the place where we can worship well.
Yeah.
And it's not just this season. It's all the time.
Yep. I mean, it's another good example. We've been having this conversation, I feel like, for a year, maybe longer, but like, it's a great example of how we're prioritizing our time. Do you have 20 minutes to go through the Jesse tree readings with your kids and let them color the ornament? You struggle for that, but you have time to watch a Hallmark Christmas movie every single night from now until Christmas.
That's a gigantic waste of time. I think we can be clear about Hallmark Christmas movies are if you're one of the Hallmark Christmas movie people, get out of my face. I didn't
imagine this going this direction. But just like the things that we're willing to commit to during the Christmas season are probably not where we should be spending our focus.
Yeah.
And, if we're struggling to find 5 minutes, seriously, you could do the Advent devotional reading in 8 minutes a day.
Yeah, I think it all comes back to what does it mean for you? Like what are the implications for you? What is the action that you need to do? What's the change that you need to make? If you're hearing a message, if it's a good message, there should always be some sort of at the end or towards the end, like, introspective, like, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
What change do I have to make? What do I have to do? And I think that's really what the whole point of Advent is. Like I said on Sunday, the literal preparation for Christ to be born happened a long time ago,
Yeah.
So when we talk about preparing the way for Christ, we're preparing the way for the gospel. We're preparing the way for ourselves to focus and center ourselves on God and to worship him, which is what you're saying, Mark, about Christmas. Like, it's all of these things. And it's also like, we got to be honest with ourselves. We got to be self-aware. We got to be like a harsh critic and say like, all right, am I doing this thing, even though it like may feel like a wholesome, good family thing? Is that distracting me from the actual like meaning here or the actual purpose?
Right.
So, I have always felt like, if anything, Advent and Christmas are lacking in the like implications of what we need to do, what we need, how we respond, how we need to make changes. It might be the time of year this season where, as Christians, we're the most like retrospective. We're the most critical of ourselves, and we're the most like seeking change and what we need to do different, in response. So hopefully you guys all heard that from Sunday. If you didn't, talk to Mark.
Yeah. No, I just think like to keep in mind that we need that cycle.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'll even take it to your preparation for coming into a worship service. Because I feel like a lot of people, they come in late, they come into the service 5 minutes late, they take 10 minutes to warm up to where they're actually worshiping. And then it's almost like, really? Like you've almost missed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're almost not in the right frame of mind to be able to actually worship.
Yep.
And like there's a certain amount of preparation that could change that completely. Show up 5 minutes early and spend 5 minutes in prayer before the service starts. Enter into worship immediately. Like there's like a whole new thing that gets unlocked when you're able to like, we're only there for, 70, 80 minutes. Like it's not, it's
Depends
not.
on if you're preaching.
That's why I added maybe to 80.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Because when you're preaching, it's about 55, and when I'm preaching, it's like 80. So, we're a good team.
True.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's just like, get your heart in the right place to
Yeah.
actually worship. Because I feel like we just don't realize we got to peel those layers off and get ourselves in the right frame of mind. It's not like there's anything bad, again, about the season.
When
It's just,
I lived in southern Mexico the first time, I attended this very, very, very tiny, like, mountain church. And they would do this. Like, you walked in the morning and there was nobody socializing. You were getting there 5-10 minutes early, which, I mean, this is Mexico. So, like, this is how much people cared about this. And they would sit at their seat or kneel in front of their seat and pray for 5 minutes, 10 minutes before the service started, before worship started in the sermon. And I thought it was so interesting because Mexico is such a relational country and the people are so relational that I asked somebody once, like, why, like, nobody's talking, like, nobody comes in and, like, says good morning and, like, greets people. And they were like, yeah, we pray first and, like, get our heart right first.
right.
And then we worship. And then they would spend 2 hours
Mhm.
after the service, like, hanging out, having a meal, doing their relational piece. But I really started to enjoy that, of coming in and being like, okay, now I'm going to center myself, focus on God, and just take those few minutes to be ready to worship with the rest of the church.
I thought you were going to say they were sleeping. I'm
No.
like, that's what my little brother would have been doing.
I mean, I guess I
Church.
can't guarantee all of the, like, teenagers or
Sure.
the kids, but yeah, it was really fun to see a
Yeah.
church take their corporate worship time
Mhm.
so seriously
Well,
and
and
want to be in the right spot.
just so you all know, our heart is for you all too. I mean, we're the teachers that want you to get the best grade possible. We're the coach who wants you to make the play every time. Like, we're the people, we're cheerleading you, whatever analogy you want to use. Like, we, Marks, are you okay, dude? Are you
I'm
joking?
fine. No, I'm good.
No, I just think, like, the reason we're critical, or
That
the
was just
reason
for people on video.
we point these things out, like, is because we want the best for you guys, So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like whether or not you successfully worship, like, really actually dig in and remember what's actually happening here and why it's happening, it just depends on whether or not you spend any time in preparation.
Yeah.
That, to me, that's a huge part of it, because you just catch it a little at the tail end and then it's over,
Yep.
Mhm.
and you're on to whatever your next thing is. And I agree with you about schedule, Megan. It's like, there's this, I think it's Brian Regan, where he's like talking about, on the Pop-Tart box, there's like directions to, make a Pop-Tart. And he's like, hey, there's toaster directions, which is like, put in toaster. Okay. And then you push the button. Okay. But then he goes, and then there's microwave directions. And it says, heat pastry for 3 seconds. And he goes, look, if you've got to find time in your schedule to not be able to toast your Pop Tarts and to put them in the microwave, and you're trying to save yourself like 14 seconds between toasting and microwaving, he's like, you might want to look at your schedule a little bit. You might want to just see what's going on with your schedule, because honestly, if you need Pop Tarts in your mouth in 3 seconds, you probably need to make some adjustments to what's going on in your life.
That's a different level of toastiness, though.
If
The
it's-
microwave just heats it up. It's not toasting it.
Oh, I wonder, like, if there's like air fryer instructions for like hipsters or something. Like,
Well, he's like, he does this whole thing like, how do I get this goodness in me? Oh, there's directions. And he's like, oh, toaster's way too long. And then I need it in 3 seconds. How do I? Oh, he's just like jamming his mouth. But like, if you don't have time, like if you don't have schedule and you don't have time to worship, like, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Like, your schedule's probably too tight.
Yeah.
There's probably too much going on. Like, you probably need to back off on some things and change some priorities.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest, this is a stressful season.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have kids or, like, any way you shake this. This is a stressful season. And it's one of those things that, I don't know. For me personally, sometimes you think about, like, the time it would take to do something and you're like, oh, I don't have the energy for that. But like, that spending time in worship and really reflecting on this season is just going to be life-giving and energy-giving for the rest of the crazy, stressful things that we do. Like it pays dividends if you're willing to invest that time to, start your morning with the Advent devotional, to spend 10 minutes with your cup of coffee, just like centering, pray the rest of your day. It will be so much better.
Yes. And what we're trying to do, to go back to our last sermon series, is we're trying to help nudge all of you away from being consumers, and championing your faith and your spirituality for yourself and your families. And one of the best, like, literal ways you can do that is by championing the details of your faith, the actions of your faith, whether that's in a small group on a Sunday morning, your personal time that you spend with God, or in the Word each week, like being mindful about all those things. And so, if that's through an Advent devotional that we produce this year, great. If it's not, if it's something else, a podcast, reading,
absolutely.
prayer, So we're not trying to like guilt you into that. We don't get any like kickbacks or anything. If we hand out like
Marty was like, really? We did an Advent devotional for our church? Like, give me a break. I'm like, what? Like, why are you upset about this? This is a great thing. And she's like, my mom sent me one from her church in the mail. I have one that I bought that I wanted to do with the kids. And now we have this one from church. And I'm like, whoa, you don't have to do all three of them. Like, you could just choose one.
Yeah.
Now, ours is the best, obviously. No, but it's just like, she's just like this rule follower, overachiever.
Yeah, she wants to do it all. Yeah, if you tell me you're not doing our Advent devotional because you don't have time, I've got feelings and we'll have words. If you're not doing it because you have something else you're doing, fantastic. Like, that's great. My feelings are not hurt.
Yeah. The point is to do the preparation.
Do something.
Yeah.
And for those that didn't know what to do, we made the devotional to make it super simple.
I just like the idea that like there's 20, or is it like 20 people?
15?
18.
18 people in our church that wrote that thing.
Yeah. And they loved it. It was so cool. We asked like 20, and there were, I think, 2 people who just didn't have the time in the season, which is great. But I was hoping like half of them would say yes. Yeah. And almost all of them were like, cool. Yes, absolutely. Count me in.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to watch everybody get excited about their passage and watch them all come together. Because almost everybody was like, I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but here's what I got. And just to watch them like tie in together was really cool.
Yeah.
And s'more is the best Pop-Tart flavor, by the way.
False.
What do you think is
brown sugar? 100%.
Get that out of here.
Hey guys, I'm with both of you. The answer is yes.
No.
Followed by blueberry, then strawberry.
No, absolutely not.
Delicious.
Brown sugar or nothing.
I don't know if they make the birthday cake.
Who hurt
anymore.
you, Megan?
What happened to you?
I can't help it if I'm right.
Her brother threw a strawberry Pop-Tart.
I would say though, the brown sugar cinnamon ones are good cold. You don't have to eat those ones up.
Yeah. They're the OG Pop-Tart.
And we do agree that the way to eat a Pop-Tart is to take all the edges off of it, eat those, and then eat the
Absolutely
middle.
Not.
You don't even eat the edges. You just toss those things.
What?
No.
What?
You're wrong.
Oh my goodness, you don't do that?
No.
Oh,
Megan, did you see this
year?
Such
a mess.
It was seasonal. It was for Dios de los Muertes. I said that wrong, but
it's okay.
Dia de los Muertes.
Muertos,
sorry.
Oh, Muertos.
They made Pop-Tarts with like the white icing with like the colorful skulls to look like the cutouts that people have.
Yeah.
I think the flavor was like chocolate churro or something. We bought some, and I was like, oh, chocolate churro, I'm in. It's horrible. It tastes like chemicals. I was like, this is the worst.
Yeah, churros are not supposed to be chocolate. I'm already suspicious.
Yeah, I'm just glad you didn't know that, because you would have been very disappointed like I was. Jess was like, she saw the open box. She's like, did you eat some of these? I was like, I tried them and they were horrible. And then we just threw them away. Like, didn't even want the kids to discover them. So.
Oh, funny.
Pop-Tarts.
Random Pop-Tart rant.
I've been saying it wrong my whole life.
Toaster strudel.
Los Muertos.
Yeah, I've been saying muertes.
No,
because
muertos.
Muerte means death, right?
Dios de los muertos.
Remember we had to memorize the scripture?
Yes, you're kind of right.
Muerte. That means death. I know that part. It was in the scripture that we memorized.
It's a conjugated verb.
It's Advent, Mark. Let's
Today.
That's a conjugated verb?
Yeah, to die.
What's the verb? Muertar?
Muerto. Oh, probably.
Muertita.
I don't know if it's an AR or ER verb.
Okay.
We're going down a really weird rabbit trail.
I'm very interested. Muertos.
Yeah.
Although I do need to brush up on my Spanish because apparently I'm the token Spanish speaker at Operation Joy.
Anyone out there fluent in Spanish that want to sign up for a specific?
We need you.
We have 10 or 15 families that are signed up that are sole Spanish speakers. So we're trying to have some people around to be able to support and shop with them. So my Spanish is real rusty, guys.
Muy mal.
It's been 6 years, I think, since I was in Puebla.
Yeah.
Last.
I just do hand gestures and speak very loud.
Yeah.
That's
I know. I've seen you in practice, my friend. Unfortunately,
Seen him in action.
It's fairly. It works.
Yeah. People get what I'm saying.
Yeah. They laugh, but yeah.
So yeah, if you're a Spanish speaker out there and you want to sign up for a specific time when we know we have Spanish families coming, we could use your expertise.
Let me know.
So
also pray for my Spanish.
Your Spanish.
Yeah. That's about where we're at.
Yep. I just wanted to throw one more thing on this podcast. And it's just something I always keep in I'm trying to breathe.
Try not to
Something
die.
I always try to keep in mind when I'm going through the seasons, the sort of pastoring side of who I am. You know, there's a lot of people where this is their first holiday without someone, or they're in the process of losing someone, or for them, holidays don't elicit fuzzy, warm memories. Yeah. For them, they try to like avoid, you know, kind of the whole thing. Just try to avoid the festivity, the festiveness of it, because for them it brings up negative emotions. So, and I just want to say, like, I see you, like, I get it that holidays sometimes can be some of the most like depressing down times for certain situations or people that have gone through certain difficulties. And I just want to tell you, like, your church is a place to lean in. Your small groups are places 100%. To lean in. The relationships that you have, people are, you know, willing to invite you into what they're doing or to walk with you through those things. And if you don't have somebody, we're willing to do that. And I just want you to know, like, you know, as you struggle through that, your community should be a place where you receive what you need. That help walk through that with you. This is what Jesus did. He ministered through presence. And this is what we do as believers. We minister through presence.
Not the wrapped kind.
And I would also encourage you to be sensitive to people in your own life who that is a thing for them. Yeah. You know, because I feel like sometimes we just want to force people to be okay or like whatever. And it's actually better to just sit in that with them and just be with them as they go through difficult times. And the holidays, again, are some of the most down times for specific situations. So,
and I think COVID has only made that worse with some families not getting together, and it adds another layer.
It's a painful reminder of what we've lost, whether that's a person, a tradition, relationships.
Yeah. And even the like stress of, like, I've heard of some families where it's like, you know, somebody in the family says, okay, we need to change the time we're going to get together because now I want everyone to quarantine for 14 days. And, you know, it's like, there's a lot of like stress around it. Yeah. It's like, okay.
As if the holidays weren't stressful enough.
Yeah. It's like COVID sucks.
Thanks, COVID.
So,
we're here for you guys. And in many ways, you know, as, you know, pastoral counselors, as friends, as people who are really good listeners, and we don't have to give advice or perspective. We can just sit with you, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And I think what we're going to do here for the podcast over the next couple of weeks is we're probably going to shut it down till January. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit any in, you know, with next week we got the toy drive, and then the week after we got Christmas services, plus I'm moving. So it probably won't be until January when we get back to it. And actually in January, we'll start a series on rhythm, schedule, Sabbath.
So excited.
And just trying to implement some of those pieces into our lives to make great decisions about how to spend our time, to make great decisions on how to serve our priorities, and then also to make sure that we are really worshiping, like really taking the time to worship. So I'm excited to talk through that stuff, and I know we'll have plenty to talk about in podcast form when we get to that. And so we may even schedule a guest here or there, talking through some of this stuff, because I know some families that I know do certain rhythms in their family's life that I'd love to have those conversations
really
with
cool.
them about how they do things. So all that to say, we're not going to probably do a podcast for the next couple weeks, and then we'll probably come back in January and, mirror the sermon series. But if there are things that you want us to talk about, we'll probably over the next couple weeks be jotting down some ideas and planning them out, a few out. So if there's something you want us to talk about, please let us know. Email us, text us. No one does. That's okay. I guess not. But, I guess there aren't a lot of topics they want us to deal with or talk about. So, okay, maybe not. I'm looking at the stats. Like, the podcast gets downloaded or played like 100 times. I know there's people listening into it out there. I don't know who they are, because they don't want to tell us anything or communicate with us at all.
That's right. Maybe we're just really, really on the pulse of what they want to talk about.
They're like, all of our questions are answered. We don't have anything. You guys are doing great.
They're like, Mark just gets going about how busted the church is, and then the podcast is over. I don't really have anything to add to it. So, but
we love you guys, and have a great Christmas, and hopefully we'll see you in person at church.
Good.
Or at Operation Joy.
Yeah.
So
have a good week.
All right. See you in January.
Bye.
I'm not ended stream yet. Hold on.
Someone